Hooray! Welcome to the end of week 6 and the end of kind of the regular issues for this project. We have some, I don't know if you can hear through my headphones, like my son is really sawing away on the violin back there. Anyway, the next 2 weeks are going to be really, really fun. And I had not even seen what you had all been doing on the discussion board. And I just took a peek today and it looks amazing. So you already have a great, great start. So I'm super excited. All right, but without any further ado, who would like to demo first this week? Everybody chomping.
I'm just listening to the great music. That's
all.
So I could just continue waiting.
That's my husband is playing piano. He's accompanying Fritz. They're playing, there's a famous kind of junior violin concerto. It's the Accolade violin concerto. That's what he's working on.
It's really good.
Let's do, who's ready to go? Who would like to go?
Abby looks like she's ready to go, i.e.
Okay.
I am ready to go.
Yes, that's right, you're talking, so good. Let's go, team delete.
Let's do it, Abby.
Okay, and apologies for any barking you may hear in the background.
Hopefully it syncs with the music.
I think my dog thinks I'm an intruder. Okay. Okay, so per usual, I'm going to remind us of our acceptance criteria, and then I'll demo, and then I will pass it over to Curran to talk about the code. So, as a reminder, our feature this week, so the user should be able to delete an item from the list. Before deleting, there should be a prompt that the user can confirm that they actually want to delete the item to prevent accidental deletions, and deletions should cause the records and Firebase to also be deleted. So, and we'll go into our app, and I'm going to pick, I'm going to have this token just because I like to humor myself and I think it's kind of funny. So with the token Mrs. Snell Stick, we have chocolate, donuts, and avocado in this shopping list. And as you can see, we added a new button, the delete button, the X right here. And when a user goes into their shopping list, this is what they'll see. And so I'll go ahead and I will click right next to the avocado. And when I click it, you are going to see a modal pop up. And it's going to ask you if you're sure you want to delete avocado or whatever item you click on from your list. And of course, we would never delete avocado from this list. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click cancel. And then it will bring us right back to the shopping list. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click chocolate. Might also be a sin. But this time when it asks me, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click yes. And as you can see, chocolate is now gone from the shopping list. And it popped up right here that chocolate, a little notification that we had deleted it. And I'm going to go into the back end right here in Firestore. And you can see this is the token I was using. And you can now see that there are just donuts and avocado. What a shopping list. Okay. So I think that's about it for the feature. So I'm going to pass it over to Curran, if that's cool.
Nicely done. And that was very well demonstrated. And I'm clearly not trying to buy myself time. Okay, here we go. Screen number 1. So the code for this I'm gonna demonstrate. So first of all, I'd like to mention that everyone did a great job in terms of like planning forward. Like it wasn't like right off the bat that we kind of like had everything laid out perfectly, but eventually like just the passing of props kind of made things adding of features very convenient going forward. So we didn't really have to change add any additional data that needs to be as a prop to the item component. Because the item component was pretty much getting all of the information, like the item name, the ID, and whatnot. Okay, moving into the details of the code. First thing was we created a button next to each item on the list. So it's that button that had the X on it. Now, obviously, we can discuss whether we want that as the design. But right after that, we created a button modal. So once it's been clicked on, modal is supposed to appear. I will go into the logic of that in a second. So the modal over here, you'll see conveniently it was a feature of I'm going to stick with my guns, Naughty Stack. It was part of that. It was actually part of Material UI, which is a dependency of Naughty Stack. And as a result, we were able to use that. Now I will go into style components. Abby basically started using style components. I'm a huge fan of style components, so I'm not going to say no to that. And I'm going to show why I like it. So this is our modal. Inside the modal, we have this styled modal layout is actually a div. And inside it, you've got the H1 delete modal title. That's for accessibility purposes. And it basically, Lauren had suggested, which I think was a great thing, dynamically changing this prompt message over here. So as you can see over here, the item name changes based on the item that was clicked to be deleted. And then we've got our cancel button and our yes button over here. So let's go over into the logic of things. So handle open modal. So if that delete button was clicked on, handle open modal gets activated, and it sets this set state, this set open modal to true. So set open modal is this state that we're actually tracking for the modal. It's one of the props that you need to pass into the Material UI modal component that basically tells it to open or close. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. And then what we did was, so once the modal pops up, two things can happen based on what the user selects. So if the user selects cancel, if the user selects yes, we've got this logic over here. And if the user selects no, then we've got this tiny little logic over here. So let's start with the easy part. As you saw over here, set open modal set to true if once the user clicks and then it opens the modal. But then if the user says, you know what, I clicked this by mistake, I will click cancel, and it sets open modal to false, which in turn renders the modal to disappear. Now, in the case where the user actually clicks yes, it basically, it sets open modal to true. One second, sorry, I think I just spoke over me. Oh, yeah, sorry. So this handle open modal, you'll actually find it in here Sorry, Abby, I'll need you to take over here for a second because I'm not quite sure why we had that down here. Anyways, so when you click on handle delete, it opens up the modal, and it's this Firestore method. We basically pass this the user token and the ID of the item that is being deleted into Firestore, and it actually deletes that. Now, I took the opportunity to actually add Naughty Stack into the like if based on whether they were successful or whether there was an issue. So if it was successful, then it will let the user know that the item in question has been successfully deleted. Now, I would like to discuss with the group at some point whether we want the color of the snack bar to be green or yellow. I just chose yellow because it's not like, I don't know, it's successful, but it's not like, I don't know, it just doesn't seem right to me to say that it's green, but we could definitely discuss that. If something does go wrong, in that case, then the snack bar basically mentions, oops, something went wrong. It's a red colored bar, and that's why the variant is error. Now, down to the styled component, you see over here, we originally had it in this component, but then Daria mentioned, like gave a very good suggestion that it should be in its own component because of the large amount of code that's in there. So we actually moved it to its own component. Now, the one thing that I made a call over here where instead of moving this whole modal, you see over here into a component, I moved just the styling into a component. And the reason behind that is I thought you could basically, with that, you are able to pick and choose the different styles, even though the styled modal layout, which is the div, is the default. You can pick other things also, like the styled modal button. And we could add other things over here as a feature in terms of design. So yeah, for the button, we used a button for accessibility purposes, and that's pretty much it. I don't know if anyone has any questions, concerns. I know I kind of bungled over the handle open modal. So if
I wonder if line 82, was line 82 just maybe an extraneous set open modal to true, I wonder? Because it's already open, right?
Yeah, it's already open, and we aren't handle open modal is not being set over here, even though it's not mentioning that it was never used. Wait, actually, it won't tell us that it wasn't used anywhere because this was just defined.
Yeah, I think when you click on the X button, right, doesn't it runs handle open modal? Is that right?
Yes. No. If it clicks, it actually runs handle delete. So handle delete actually sets the modal to open. So I think this is less like something that we were using originally, but then it became deprecated and we just left it there.
Got it.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. And then I just had one more comment on, I like how you separated out your styled components into a separate file. That's a really nice pattern to follow going forward. And you can, a common pattern to do is just call it like elements.js or something like that. And then you just export const all of the different style components that you're using. Yes. So you just kind of organize them in a separate file. But that's a really nice pattern that you all started with.
Yeah, I think you all did a great job of, I mean, the initial code was great, but you also did a really good job throughout the week of incorporating all the feedback. And I think it's a very nice final product that you all had.
Thank you.
I actually have a question. If you could share your screen again.
Oh, yes, I'll do that.
Yeah. So I noticed that you have a function handle close modal that just sets open model to false, right? And then it only runs when you click the close button on or cancel button on the model, right?
Yes.
And then you have handle delete that only runs when you click the X, and it has all the logic for opening the model and then removing the thing from the database, right?
So the handle delete, it's starting to sort of fall in place. What I was confused about. So the handle delete actually only gets run when you click yes as a confirmation. The handle open, the open modal actually only runs when you actually click the X button. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I can see that now.
And the handle delete, I'm not quite sure why this is here, because I don't think that is necessary because it's already open, set to true, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And I think that's what threw me off.
Okay. So my question is, what was your logic between separating handle open model and handle close model into different functions? Was there a specific reason for that?
No, I can definitely see if I'm reading your question correctly, you could basically create a toggle, handle toggle modal, which will basically do the opposite of whatever the current state is, which is more like, which definitely works also. So it will be a drier code if we did that. So yeah, good point, good question. I think that's something that we could definitely employ.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's like a specific reason behind that.
No.
Okay. And another question to Lauren, actually. You were saying just now that it's a common practice to have all your styles as constants in like an elements.js file, right? Did you mean that it's like it's for styles across components, or is it for every component you have its own file?
So let's see. So normally if I were structuring an application, I might have, let's say that I had like item, right, is its own component right now. I might have item in a folder, like item.js in a folder. And then inside that folder, I'd have item.js and then maybe a separate file that's elements.js that creates any styled elements that I need for item.js. And then I'd export everything from like an index file within that directory.
Okay, so it would basically be the same as CSS modules, but written in JSX?
I mean, it's different than CSS modules. I just like to put my styled components in a separate file. Then my main component file doesn't end up being so big. Just for me personally, for legibility reasons, but it doesn't have to be that way either. You could easily just keep the styled modal, those styled components inside whatever component they're being used in, I guess.
Okay,
yeah, so sense. If I'm reading what Lauren is saying, because like I think they use this in Redux also. So if I did an index.js over here, oh wait, no, there's going to be an index something over here. So example.js, and then import. You can stop me if I am wrong, Lauren, and if we don't have time. But if I basically do that, if I import that, and then I basically export each of the names from this file, so that they just need to use these things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you know what? I'll post an example maybe in Slack of what I'm talking about, just
Yeah.
like have a directory that has all of the information surrounding a particular component or a page or something. Just maybe what that directory structure might look like.
Yeah, but I like how you use style components, and I think that it's a really good way to apply styles, and we should do that with everything in the upcoming weeks. So good job.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a big fan of style components.
Cool. Other questions and comments? It's really nice. I love style components too. All right, let's hand it off. Nice job, you two. Very nice.
Daria, did you want to do the demo to start? Are you sharing your screen?
Yes.
Or are you doing like the recording rather?
I'm sharing my screen because we've changed some things after I made the recording.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I got my COVID shot yesterday, so I made a video just in case, but I'm actually feeling fine. Okay, so this week we were dealing with sorting items in the list. We were asked to sort them in 2 sorting orders. First, by the number of days until next purchase, and then within the same number of days, we were asked to sort them alphabetically. And one of the acceptance criteria that we have was also that items in different states should be described distinctly when read by a screen reader. So let's see what it looks like. Here in the app, we have 4 different lists. First one is items to buy in the next week, then items to buy in the next month, items to buy in the distant future, and inactive items. These are the items that either don't have a purchase estimate yet, or the items that have not been bought in a while. For the purpose of this demo and for the purpose of testing this feature, we actually decided to render the amount of days remaining until our estimated purchase into the UI, just so that we could make sure that everything's working properly. So you can see that here in the first list, they are all ordered by the number of days. In the second list, we have a couple of items that have the same amount of days until next purchase, and they are ordered alphabetically. Finally, if I were to go into my inactive items and check something as purchased, our app immediately calculates a purchase estimate and it moves to the list where it belongs. And now I would like to demonstrate how the screen reader reads our list. And I'm going to use my screen reader, and please brace yourselves because it does not sound nice for everyone. I'm going to tap through the items so that we wouldn't have to listen to everything.
Scan, arugula, week, checkbox unchecked. Tomatoes, week, checkbox unchecked. Bread, month, checkbox unchecked. Mochi ice cream, longer, checkbox unchecked. Apricot, inactive, checkbox unchecked.
Did everyone hear that?
Yep.
Okay. So you could hear that it reads the name of the item and then it reads the label to be assigned to it, either week or month or longer or inactive. And yeah, that is our feature for this week. And I'm going to pass it to Caitlin to explain how we coded this.
Great. Thanks, Daria. That was a great demo. All right, let me share this. So you all should be looking at our code from on GitHub. And so a lot of our code was in the add items. Oh no, sorry, it wasn't. It was in the item list component. And so basically what we were doing is we already had all of the data for the most part in the code, but we were just trying to organize how the code was displaying on the page. And so we wrote a few functions in order to organize that data. So basically we have this object called sorry. Oh, where did it go? Results object, where we have 4 arrays that are going to organize all of the items into either one of those categories that Daria just mentioned. So week, month, longer, and inactive. And in order to do that, we have here, we set an empty or an object with empty arrays. And then we sorted through the grocery list in order to put them in the correct array. So if an item doesn't have a purchase date or purchase estimate associated with it, we just automatically put that into the inactive array. This should not be so relevant anymore. Daria actually wrote some code and pushed a PR to automatically pull the user input data when they're creating an item that will automatically put it into one of those arrays. But this is more to address items that are already existing in Firebase before we implemented this code, or if the estimate proves to be inaccurate and there's a long time between purchases. Otherwise, so yeah, then it'll be pushed to inactive. Otherwise, we're basically looking at a few numbers: the date of the last purchase, the amount of time since the last purchase, and then the last estimate. And we're comparing those numbers to see how long, how many days are left before the due date of the item, essentially. And we assigned that value to an property on the item called days remaining. And then based on that number, we're assigning it to the proper array, either the more straightforward ones being week, month, and longer, 7 days, 30 days, and more than 30 days. The one that's a little bit harder to wrap your head around is the inactive. So it's if the amount of time that has passed since the estimate was given is more than 2 times the length of time of the estimate, then it's going to be deemed inactive because the estimate doesn't seem to be accurate. So that's how we're assigning those categories to each of the items. And then down here, this is where we're sorting within each of those categories. So we wanted each category to be sorted first in order of the amount of days remaining before the item is due. And then if 2 or more items have the same amount of days, then we want to sort alphabetically. So we wrote a function to alphabetize the arrays, which is pretty straightforward. And for anything that doesn't have an estimated due date in the inactive category, we're just going to automatically alphabetize them. But if there are estimated dates, then we're going to first sort them in order of the number of days remaining and then sort them alphabetically. So that's what's happening here. And then once all of those arrays have been sorted, then we're assigning that value to the results object that is then going to be rendered on the page. So you can see that down here. So on the page, we basically, previously we had just one large unordered list, which we then split into 4 unordered lists by mapping through the object, each of the key value pairs within the object, and rendering a separate unordered list for each array. The H3 associated with each list is dependent on the key, and then it's going to just map through the unordered list very similarly to the way we did it before. One thing, as Daria highlighted, is that we wanted to have a we wanted it to be readable to a screen reader. So one thing that we did do for that purpose was adding an H3, which would make it easier to understand the structure of the page, that there are separate unordered lists associated with each H3. But then we also added in, if I can find it, some Aria labels to the individual items. So we pulled in here, we have an Aria label that is just giving the status. So we're passing the status from the item list, being week, month, longer, and inactive. And then we're just adding an Aria label that displays that for the specifically for screen reading purposes. I think that is the gist of our feature. Are there any other things that I should highlight, Daria, that I might have overlooked?
I think that's it, unless anybody has any questions.
Does anyone have any questions?
That was a really great walkthrough of the code. Really nice.
No questions. Just want to say that you guys did an awesome job on making the code look really clean. And yeah, I mean, like, it looks great like that. And with the screen reader, that was awesome. Great demo. Yeah, good job, guys.
Yeah, props to Daria for constantly cleaning up our code and like making it more modular and making it drier and like writing functions and things like that. I think it's really makes it a lot easier to read.
Oh, I had a question. I forgot, Daria. What is the screen reader that's on? Because Daria has a Windows machine, but and hers has like a built-in screen reader, and I can't remember what it's called.
So when I was preparing this demo, the default screen reader on Windows is called Narrator, and it's like super basic. But then there's also NVDA that Lauren, you mentioned during the office hours, and I downloaded that and I tried to run that on our app, and and apparently so the settings were not super straightforward because it defaulted to only reading the things that are the controls, like checkboxes and buttons and fields. It did not read the actual text. So I was fiddling with the settings for, I don't know, an hour, and I could not make it just read the Aria label. It just like wouldn't read it for whatever reason. So I decided to go back to Narrator, and it was actually a great empathy building exercise to kind of like, I never realized that some screen readers can, or like by default they only read the interactive elements. They do not read the rest of the text on the page. That was like eye-opening.
I think I haven't had to set up NVDA in a couple of years, so I can't remember. But I think that there are probably settings in your browser, like in Chrome or Firefox, that you need to change to have NVDA work better. That is my suspicion, but I'll try to investigate because I can't remember. It's been a long time. Cool. Other questions and comments? This is really nice, very nice demo. Nice demos all around. All right, nice job, everybody. Woohoo. Let's pass it off to, it's like the last really, really crazy hard issues. Okay, good job. Let's pass it off to Jonathan.
Yeah. All right. Time for retro. So if you haven't had a chance, I'm just gonna ping the retro board in Zoom chat. And then I'll give us, I think there's some issues here already, so I'll give us like maybe like 7 minutes. Feel free to write.
Sounds good. I'm going to pause. Help me remember. Okay.
Sweet. Good. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Cool. So let's go through the retro board. As per usual, we'll just go down appreciations down these columns. So Karen.
I think it's pretty self-explanatory there.
Yep.
I think everyone's been awesome. I think a lot of it is being echoed below. I wish it added to the bottom so that it doesn't sound like I was the one who put that there. But I'm the first one who's saying that. But yeah, no, like I just love the group dynamic. The mentors have been great, and just this is my first real foray into like working asynchronously. And I mean, people's commitments have changed throughout this whole period, but I don't think we have dropped our quality. In fact, we have, with the help of our mentors, we have actually continued to improve. So thank you. That's it for me.
For sure. All right, Daria.
Thanks to Karen and Abby for taking initiative on the UI decisions that will make work easier for everyone in the next 2 weeks.
Awesome. Abby?
Yeah, just how great everyone's been in the discussion board. I know it's been like said a lot, but at first I was doing the mood board and I didn't look at like everything that Daria had put in there, and I was like, oh my god, this is awesome! Like all the suggestions like she had put in there, and I don't know, it's just great. Everyone's just great.
Yeah, the discussion is awesome. Caitlin.
Lauren made a comment that I was echoing, but also applying to Lauren. I think all of our mentors are amazing. I still can't believe that this is like a free thing that you all do and volunteer your time for. I'm learning a ton, both technically and like soft skills wise, which I think are super duper important. So thank you all.
All right, Karen.
Just Daria taking the initiative to take up some like basically seeing an opportunity for improvement, and just dealing with it, and I think it's been great. Gets things moving pretty fast, and thank you, Daria.
It's awesome. And you have the next one.
Oh yes. So I mentioned this during our the demo. We didn't really plan we sort of planned how we were going to actually structure the app, but just like the passing of props and whatnot, obviously there are things that can be improved. But I found it even though the issues or the features have become more complex in nature going forward, just the way we basically organically made it a much more streamlined application in terms of how it's passing props, I think made it so much easier. Alleviates a lot of the headaches, and you can focus on the issue at hand.
Very nice. Lewis.
Great job to all the mentees for communication and also contributing PRs to each other's PRs, commenting and stuff. I'm sorry I didn't see the other PR earlier this week, but it looks like everyone's on top of it, and that's awesome.
Yeah, +1. Abby?
Yeah, so grateful to Curran for I did something weird to the local my local branch, and I had made changes. Something weird happened, and then there was I went on my gas escapades, and he kind of he's like, oh no, I'm good. And I came back and all the changes were made. I was like, thank you so much. So I appreciate that.
Awesome. Lauren.
Yeah, I want to second something that Curran said. I think that a lot of people's lives have changed pretty significantly, like during this time, and the way that you've all handled it and adjusted. And I was really impressed with that. I think office hours have been great. I really just enjoyed getting to know everyone and hanging out with you all. That's been super fun. Thank you, Jonathan and Lewis, for being just really on top of things and so positive. I just feel like everything is running so smoothly and it's been so easy. Daria, thanks for tackling some extra issues. That was really nice.
Awesome. Yeah, plus one heard what everyone said. Also love the use of the discussion board. I took a peek into it yesterday and it was just so many great resources and ideas. Really loved it. Caitlin.
So I already mentioned this, but yeah, I am really grateful that Daria has been taking so much initiative and, doing extra work when she sees a need for it. It makes, as we've said, it makes the code a lot easier to read and work with. And then I also have the next issue, which I was just saying props to Curran for getting the ball rolling on the UI UX discussion. I was grateful for it when he did it, but now going into this week, I'm super grateful that that's already been something we've been talking about, and it makes the next 2 weeks a lot less daunting.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. So that is all the appreciations. Let's move on to what went well. Daria.
By the way, thanks to everyone for all the appreciations.
MVP.
Yeah, so I love how everyone, especially Curran, is taking all this initiative on our UI discussion and design discussion, and we already have a mood board in Figma, so it's actually a lot done already, and we haven't even officially started working on this issue yet.
Yeah, seriously. Okay, so mine is small PRs that clean up or add functionality are great. I've been seeing a few of those come through, and that's like just so much better than having to review one massive PR. So well done. Laura?
Yes, the discussion board. Oh my gosh, fantastic. You all are you've really set yourselves up for success for the next 2 weeks. I'm super excited about it. What else did I say? I think this is kind of related to what Curran had said before and what I had seconded, is that your group really knows how to maximize your time and organize yourselves and just get work done when you have the time to get work done. And that's been going really well, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Lewis.
Yeah, I guess I repeated what Lauren said, but I didn't know about the discussion board until today. So I just thought the proactiveness was really great.
Yeah, awesome. Cool, that is it. So what could be improved? Mine is just like, it's more of a PSA. This is kind of weird wording, but what I'm trying to say is I know the next few issues are kind of ambiguous in scope. You can spend a lot of time doing design work, so just be cognizant of how much time you have and how much time your partner has. So that's all I want to say. Caitlin?
That's really helpful advice, John. I appreciate that. So I was just saying that one thing I'm trying to be better about is reviewing PRs, like trying to be prompt about reviewing them. I think that I was a little bit in the mindset of like, okay, the main thing I need to do is like get this feature working. And then once that's done, I'm kind of done for the week, and just kind of incidentally reviewing PRs, but I'm trying to be a little bit more like thinking of code review as actual part of the scope of the work. Because I know in actual software engineering jobs, code review is an important part of the job. And so trying to also prioritize that here.
Yes. Okay, Karen?
Yeah, I wanted to second what Caitlin said. That's definitely a very good point. Just like having the mindset that like just add code review as part of like the key job, like key part of what you're doing in order to add value to the team. But yeah, so organizing my time better. Things have been busy for sure over the last couple of weeks, but I like, for example, Daria has suggested Figma, and I wish I had actually spent more time and I was more organized, and that's something that I would like to improve. It's very easy to just take the initiative and just like make like a statement and just spend like 20 minutes with you amazing folks, but not like following through and actually like taking the time to actually add to that board. So that's something that I really want to do and really make it count over the next couple of weeks. So thank you. I just want to, I know this is not on this, but I wish I had written this. Thank you so much to the mentors for like understanding and basically waiting, like knowing that we might be like submitting our PR requests at the end of the week, even though you folks are very busy. So thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. And Lauren, yeah, last but not least.
Let's see. Oh, yep. Kind of seconding what John was saying. The next 2 weeks are really a lot about task breakdown, planning, organizing, and communicating. So just know that that's a huge part of what happens this next 2 weeks. Please remember to ping mentors directly in Slack. It's probably the best way to get our communication, especially I think over the next 2 weeks, you might have a lot of PRs coming in. So if you would like to have our eyes on things, just go ahead and ping us in Slack. And I know for me personally, that's where I will see that notification first, for sure.
Yeah, seconded. And Lewis, do you mind if I just quickly tick off the items from last retro action items?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. I like doing this with my retros at work, but it's just like a nice, like, we've done this. So Karen, side conversation about app design, maybe a quick call with all four of us. Is that check? And then Daria, suggestion to teams to pick up additional issues if they have time throughout the week. I feel like you've been picking up all these issues. Okay. All right. Cool. Lewis.
I was gonna say I have a doc that I've written. So since we were talking about organizing components into folders and stuff, I can share that with the team so you can sort of see how our larger project is built out. So I guess the action item would be to start organizing components a little better. It'll help a lot when you start getting to styling and creating styled components now that we have that to organize things a little better. So I can share that with this team in the Slack.
Awesome.
Cool.
Okay.
That is it.
Cool. I like that, having the check off the items that we did. That feels so good. I love it.
Yeah. It always feels good when you actually check it off.
You're like, wow, we actually did those things that we created as action items. How shocking. Good job. Okay, let's see. I'm going to share my screen. That's our discussion board. I haven't jumped into Figma. I'm excited to see. Okay, so this is really what you'll be working, this issue, you will all be working together as a group the last 2 weeks. So as a user, I want the app to look professional and welcoming. The last 2 weeks of the project will function a little differently than the rest. Your team will self-organize around a lightweight design process to come up with a polished look and feel for your app. As a side note, this is only the second cohort that we've done this particular process with. Previously, it was broken out into, I think, 3 or 4 different issues. One was make the item list page look inviting, right? So this is more self-organizing than we've had teams be in the past, but it was a really big success last time. It was really a fun process, so I think you'll enjoy it. Let's see. So this will require, excuse me, you to make decisions together as a whole team, then implement your vision. The process outlined here is our best suggestion for how to proceed, but you're free to take whatever approach you see fit. You'll notice that this is the last issue on the board. That's because the expectation is for you to write the stories needed to complete the implementation of your design direction. You could create your own project in the project space if you'd like to do that. And as always, lean on your mentors for guidance if you're unsure how to proceed. So talking about the design process, 1, what is the tone you're going for? What feeling are you trying to convey? Come up with 3 to 5 words that best capture how you want users to perceive your app. So for examples, fun, clean, ironic, businesslike, and there's a link to more example words. Create a mood board. A mood board helps everyone get on the same page in terms of the direction in which you want to take your design. This links out to, let's see, Milanote and Canva. I think the team I worked with last time used both of those tools and liked both of them quite a bit. A mood board, and I had a previous team actually, excuse me, do all of their designs in Figma, and they loved working in Figma. A mood board helps everyone get on the same page in terms of the direction in which you want to take your design. Add elements to your mood board that represent the tone you're trying to achieve. Did I read that already? Okay. Decide on fundamental elements of your design, including the following. Typography. Google Fonts is a good choice for finding web fonts that you can use in your app. Just, it's easy to have and they're free. They have hundreds of typefaces to choose from, but consider usability in whichever ones you choose. Colors, making sure that they are accessible. There's a link to a website that will help you determine that. Iconography / imagery, start here to find free icons you can use in your app. Decide how you want to write your CSS. Do you want to use some kind of framework? It looks like, you know, style components might be a direction that you're going to take, or are you going to use something like CSS modules, SCSS, regular old CSS. There are pros and cons to each. Vanilla CSS gives you more control, but it can be harder and or take more time to achieve a given effect. Frameworks help you get things done faster, but often at the cost of not giving you full control of the design. If you choose to use a framework, evaluate your options to make sure you pick one that will suit your needs. Consider the following: Comic Sans, quality of documentation, ease of integration, built with accessibility in mind. How active is that community? Is there really like, do they have great discussion boards on Spectrum or Discord or something? I found that to be super valuable to have an active community behind anything that I'm using. So when I have questions, that I can usually find an answer. That's really helpful. Quality frameworks you might consider include the following: Bootstrap, Chakra UI, Material UI, which you already have installed, Semantic UI, and Tailwind CSS. I will say I haven't used Bootstrap in a really long time, nor have I used Material UI, but a lot of the teams in the past cohorts have used Material UI, and they have a lot of great tools for customizing style. So it is really easy to override styles. Yeah, so that is the issue. What I would say, let me make a couple suggestions in terms of organizing your work for the 2 weeks. I would say have planned something to demo at the end of week 1, just anything. It doesn't have to be big, and try to write some code the first week. My team last time around spent a ton of time on the design side of things, and it was great. It looked amazing. And they wish they would have started coding a little bit earlier. They did all their design the first week, and then they did all of the code the second week, and they finished and everything was fine. But they did wish that they had started a little bit earlier. So that's really the only direction I would say. Try to have something to demo the first week.
What would be an example of something we would demo? Like, we've implemented colors that are accessible across the page or something like that, or?
Yeah, I would, so plan on for sure demoing like the mood board and anything that you have like design, quote unquote, designed in Figma, any of those kind of artifacts that you've created the first week, talking about what your like the words that you're trying to go off of, the colors, those kinds of things. And then maybe I'm trying to think. I want to leave it up to you, but like, for example, we implemented Material UI, and we're specifically using these components, these buttons, and this is where they are in the app, and this is what they look like. Something like that. Or maybe you get as far as the add an item page is done, or the welcome page is done. That would be farther than I would think. but something like that.
I also suggest it's a large issue to make multiple PRs, like we had mentioned in the project board. Doing a bunch of small PRs, and then like so you can get more frequent feedback, and then next week we can like go over all those small changes. So just you have like something to show.
Yes, that is very smart.
So super excited to see what happens like that.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around the process that would be best to tackle this, because like I have not used Material UI before, but as far as I understand, it has a bunch of components that have default styles that can also be like changed within like a certain like changed a little bit. So would it make sense to first identify which components we're going to use for every part of the app, and then make the design based on that, and then like introduce those little tweaks in the components?
Well, I would say if you're going to use a UI library, you're probably not going to be writing that many styles, because it already comes with a lot of great defaults. You can probably do things like change colors and other things like that, but you'll probably not be writing many style sheets, because the UI library will provide that for you. But I guess when you have that meeting, or when you guys talk about choosing a UI library, the documentation is really helpful. Like Material UI has amazing documentation that you just go through every single component and see what they do.
Yeah, I do know Material UI has hooks that you can use to apply styles to, and it's a really familiar API to something like using styled components or emotion. But you can, of course, use both of those things together too. Yeah, it's hard to say. But I would start with like this process, I think, is pretty solid. Try to stay focused on like the design process part of it. And then once you feel like you all have a really good direction for what you want this app to look like, then work toward those technical decisions. Like, okay, this is our mood, these are the colors, this is the typography, we want the app to be fun and blah and blah. And now, okay, how are we going to achieve that? What's the technology that's going to help us achieve that efficiently and relatively quickly?
And I think that's when like we will assess whether Material UI can actually achieve this for us. Yes.
Let's see, what other questions? It seems like a lot. But it's going to be really fun. It is kind of a lot, but once you get started, it's going to be really fun. And you've already gotten started, and like you've already done so much work ahead of time, honestly. And the code that you have you're already set up for success with your code for like separating things out, and you're in really good shape.
To get started.
What did you say, Caitlin? I missed the first part of what you said.
Sorry, I said I'm excited to get started.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It'll be really fun. Cool. You've done so much work already, everyone. That's really awesome. All right. I will post a different kind of thread, I guess, or actually, do you want to do all of the no, I'll post a thread in Slack, and you can also continue to use the discussion board, etc. And then, of course, ping us, ask questions. But this is really like when you all come together as team, and it'll be really fun. All right, everybody. Have a good week. And if you have more questions about what are we supposed to demo at the end of the week, let me know. But it is really nebulous and free forming, and it just is a free form. And it is that. That is true. Okay, awesome. Have a good week, and I'll talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Nice work.
Bye all.
Bye.